Hello and welcome to another one of our community conversations. Today's guest is Jason Vana, an absolute legend and a branding boss with over 60,000 followers on LinkedIn. Jason is the founder of Shift Agency, which helps businesses with their branding, LinkedIn, and content strategy. He's also featured as a guest in many podcast interviews and webinars, all of which you can find on their website under the resource section. The links will be in the description. Along with that, Jason also has a really cool podcast with his co-owner, Steph, called Shoot Your Shift. Highly recommend checking it out. I too have also started listening to it just recently with some very fresh, unfiltered take on branding and content for businesses. With that, welcome to the talk, Jason, and thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, and that was a great hype up. I've never had an intro like that before, so I'm sitting over here like, man, I want to talk to this guy. He's really cool.
I really appreciate that kind words. Thank you so much. We're thrilled to have you with us, especially at the beginning of our community conversation journey that we've embarked on. And so the concept is fairly simple. All actionable and valuable points in about short 10 to 15 minutes, 5 questions. And so we dive straight into your expertise, Jason. Are we ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Awesome. So you have over 60,000 followers on LinkedIn, Jason. So it's no surprise that you're a king at creating content. In it, just can we have an idea, what is your process when you're creating content for your audience on LinkedIn?
The biggest thing is really understanding who you're trying to attract with your content. So I'm not one of those guys who's out there trying to get a massive amount of followers, get 1,000 likes on every post. Now, I've had posts hit that. But that's not really my goal. My goal really is to be a resource for my ideal customers. So really the first thing I do is get to know who they are. So the people that are going to hire Shift Agency, I've done interviews with them. I've talked with them. I interact with them on LinkedIn. I know where they struggle. I know their pain points. I know the like what they're aiming at or what their goals are for their own business and their own life. And then I use that information to figure out what kind of content is going to resonate with them. And so a lot of my content comes from questions clients have asked or lessons that I have to, when I sit in on workshops with clients, like the things we have to explain again and again, like, hey, this is what it means for branding. And I know someone told you that, that's not actually true. This is what it is. Like anything like that I have to reiterate again and again. Any unique point of view. So like, I have this weird point of view that content is actually not marketing, it's branding. And most people, especially marketers, don't like to hear that because content, it's even called content marketing. So any unique point of views like that, any thoughts like that we have, that all makes for great content. So, but really coming down to it, the ultimate thing to do is understand who you're trying to attract, base your content on them. And you may not be a super huge influencer on the platform, but you'll generate leads and revenue with your content if you tailor your content to the types of people who are going to buy from you.
Absolutely. The only interesting take there, especially because you said, the content bit should be more related to branding and not really marketing, even though a lot of people may think that. And I know this as well from a lot of your posts because I too follow a lot on what you write, and a lot of resourceful content that you post. The carousels especially are my favorite, along with the other content that you post. But if I may, I just want to ask, why LinkedIn, or how did you go about starting your journey on LinkedIn?
LinkedIn was actually by accident. So I had been working at a job. I was head of marketing for a company for quite a few years. And was just getting to the place where I wanted to do something else. So back when I started on LinkedIn, when I created my LinkedIn account, LinkedIn was just your online virtual resume. That's all it was. And so I had gotten onto LinkedIn to update that resume so I could start looking for a new job. And what happened was I logged in and all of a sudden, hey, here's this feed and people are posting content. Now this was back in 2019. So there actually wasn't a lot of content creators on the platform back then, like there are now. So, but what I was seeing was, hey, people are using this platform for content. And I had this idea of well, one of the best ways to get a new job isn't just, I'm going to put put up a resume and then apply for a bunch of jobs. It's I want to show my expertise. And so I got on the platform and just started posting about marketing, like, because I've been a marketer, I've been a brander for, decades. And I was like, I'm just going to share my expertise, and maybe that'll get someone to be like, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. I want to hire him. What really happened though was I was writing all of this content, and I would get business owners sending me DMs saying, hey, I'm struggling with that and I don't know how to do it. Can I hire you to do it for me? And I was like, yes, let me quickly throw together a package, because I wasn't planning on starting a business. I was planning on getting a job. And so it really happened by accident for me, but like, I've been a content creator for longer than most social media platforms have existed. Like, I've been using content way back. This is really going to date me, but back in the 90s, there was a platform called GeoCities, which is basically an online forum and blog. Like, I was using GeoCities to make money on the internet way back then. And so like, for me, it was very easy to jump in and say, I know what I want to write on. I have a goal for this platform. I know how to reach that goal through content. It just went from job to I'm going to start my own business, because people were like, well, we can't hire you, but I can give you X amount of money to do this for me. And I was like, there is a business idea here. It's time to jump on it. So that's really why LinkedIn. And I like to tell people, because we get a lot of clients, we do LinkedIn ghostwriting and strategies and stuff for B2B companies. And I get a lot of people saying like, well, how do you make the time for LinkedIn? How did you do this correctly? And it's like, my business is because of my LinkedIn content, not the other way around. I didn't have a business and then interject LinkedIn content to it. I was like, I started creating content on LinkedIn and my business came from it. So I have that mindset of LinkedIn is where I make money. So it is a priority for me to create that content, to engage on the platform, because that's where our numbers, our data really is 75% of our revenue comes from LinkedIn content. That's a big chunk of money just from posting content and engaging on the platform. And so that's why it was by accident and it turned into a business. And so now it's like, this is part of my sales process. I have to keep doing it.
That's really interesting as well, because that one part I resonated with really well, where you said, most people join LinkedIn to update their resume, their work ex, and then it moves on. You realize the platform definitely has a lot more potential. And so that rounds me out to the next question, where you also, in the previous answer, you mentioned that you've spoken to a lot of people, and you would see certain patterns of their pain points. So from a branding perspective, as a branding expert, could you name the top most avoidable mistakes, that you see businesses do in their branding strategy that's, very clear to their customers?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that, especially in the B2B realm, it's a little different in B2C, but in B2B, the biggest mistake most companies make is that they make assumptions about their customers. And like I say this a lot, I posted about this a lot on LinkedIn. The ultimate business hack, if you want to grow your business, if you want to scale it, if you want to like make more money, the ultimate business hack is having a deep understanding of your ideal customers. Like, if you think about it, I'd like to explain it this way. Like, if you know, these are not just pain points, like every business, every marketer will talk about, oh no, they're pain points. Pain points are great, but there's a level of pain that we're all willing to deal with. Like, I look at my own business, there are pain points that it's like, yeah, you know what? It is painful. It would be awesome if this thing didn't exist anymore, but it's not painful enough for me to put money towards it or put energy towards solving it. It's low enough that I'm willing to just deal with it. And what happens is a lot of businesses will think they know the pain point of their ideal customers, and they build all of their marketing around that pain point. This is what we solve. We're going to get you more revenue. And really the client is looking there like, great, but that's not really the pain I'm after solving. That's not really the feeling I have when I'm dealing with this pain. And so there's this this disconnect in between what most businesses say and what they build their product and their service on, and what their clients actually need and want solved. And so there's a lot in branding that most businesses don't understand. And like, I could sit here for hours and talk about this is what you should be doing. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, what I see most often is they just don't understand their ideal customers. They don't know the motivation that actually gets them to hand over money. They don't understand the emotional state that their customers are in before they want to buy. And it's why we have so many B2B messages that are like so vague. Like I do about 100 brand messaging assessments a year, where I jump on companies' websites and I look at the hero section and the main messaging they have there, and I critique it. 95% of the time, like, and I will literally read that. I will read through as much of their website as possible. And I still sit on most of those calls and be like, okay, you need to explain to me what you do, because I can't figure it out on your website. I don't know what you actually do. Mm-hmm. And like, they'll explain it to me. And I'm like, why is that not what's on your website? Because what is on your website is so vague. It's so cluttered. You're trying to sound smarter than you are. You're using words that have either multiple meanings or have been overused so much, like the word empower. Such a vague word. What does it mean that you're going to empower my team to break down silos in a collaborative? Like, I don't know what you do. Like that doesn't address the like pain point I'm feeling or the ideal state you're trying to get me to. And so ultimately it all comes down to, the more you know your ideal customer, the easier it'll be to make every business decision. Like, even if you're looking, let's say you have a SaaS platform and you're like, man, we've got all these feature ideas. Which one should we focus on first? Well, if you know your ideal customers, you know which feature you should actually focus on first, because you know what they need and what's going to actually help them. And so everything comes down to truly understanding, not just demographics, but understanding their emotions, understanding their beliefs and their values, understanding their pain points, their motivations, their ideal states. All of this, the more you know them, the easier it is to brand and build your business. And so that's the biggest mistake. I sit on so many calls and I'm like, tell me about your ideal customers. And they're like, well, we think it's, and I'm like, nope. This is the issue with your business right now. You don't know. And that's what's costing you revenue.
That's actually quite surprising, because the figure that you quoted is 95% of businesses actually do not know. And like, in a way, it is surprising, but not even so, because what you mentioned, going back to the point that you said, that, a lot of people don't understand a lot about branding their own businesses. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to take a tangent here. I don't even have this here, but I just wanted to ask you, because we brought that up, and this is also a very a question that comes up often within our community on how do you identify your ICP? Now, this might be a very vague question or too vast, but in a gist, you mentioned you have a look at people's website, and then you have interviews with them and like one-on-one sessions, trying to understand that. But what is an essentially like a process which people can follow to perhaps nail down their ICP, and not just the upper layer of it, but also the inner pains, like you mentioned.
Yeah. So there's kind of two levels to this, and I always like to start by explaining this. You have a target market, and these are the people that can buy from you. Or businesses. They've got enough money. They're in the industry that you focus on, or they have the problem that you solve, your target market. Your ICP is actually a subset of that target market. So your ICP, your ideal customer profile, are the customers that you want to work with, while your target market are the customers you can work with. And if you run a business, I say that, and you immediately start understanding the difference of like, hey, I've got clients that they pay the bills, they bring in revenue, I will gladly take them. but I don't want 200 more clients like them because maybe they micromanage a little bit, or they're slow to respond, or they stall out, or whatever it might be. And then you have the ideal customers. These are the ones that like pay immediately. They trust you. They're the ones that they're like, hey, I need this. You do it. And they're like, great. I'm not going to sit here and micromanage you. I got what I needed. This is awesome. They're the ones that refer you. They're the ones that are your fanboys, like really what I tell in our branding sessions, what we do is we figure out what are the criteria that make a customer ideal for you, because that is going to be different per business. Now, obviously some stuff are, they pay well, they pay more, they don't micromanage. Like some of that kind of stuff is standard across whatever industry. But then there's going to be, like we had one client that said, well, the difference is our ideal customers are actually out there referring us to people. And so understanding who those ideal customers are, like you have to build some criteria first to say, this is what we're kind of expecting out of an ideal customer. Now, a giant asterisk caveat here, your ideal customer profile will change as your company evolves. So when you start out, like even when Shift started out, we weren't landing $50,000, $100,000 branding deals because no one knew me. I was new to the market. Like I had to show that expertise. I had to get more experience under my belt before people were like, oh yeah, I'll pay this guy $50,000 to help me figure out my brand. So it evolves and changes. And so when you're starting out, what I tell people is like, figure out, first of all, what industry has this problem. Now, again, another caveat here, most companies, when they think niching or they think targeting or ideal customer, they immediately go to industry. And I think that's an easy place for a lot of people to start, but your ideal customers don't necessarily have to be industry specific. Like for us at Shift, it's not industry specific. For us, it's more the stage or the state the business is in. So for us, it is typically founder-led companies who don't necessarily have a marketing team, who already have a product that is marginally successful. So they have a revenue coming in, or they're VC funded if they're a startup. They've got the money to actually invest in doing this right. And what we found is like, we've had clients that are bigger corporations that like, there's the CEO and the CMO, and we're directly dealing with the CMO and hundreds of employees and whatnot. But what we found is that it tends to be, for us, the founder-led companies we work with better. Just kind of, it's a personality mix. And so there's things like that you have to think about. Is it's not just the size or the industry, it's what are the personalities of the companies that actually you work with well. Like I am, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm Sassy Jason. That's kind of a character or a personality that I have on the platform. But the reason I do that is because we are the type of company where we're not yes men. So if you're in a workshop with us and you come up and you say, this is what I think our category or our brand message should be, I am perfectly fine sitting there saying, you're wrong. That doesn't work. Here's why. I'm not going to be a dick about it and be like, you're an idiot. But I'm okay saying that's wrong. Here's why. Trust me. And so that how you get that idea across is through Sass and Stark. Like I'm going to point out the stupid things people say so you understand. And I would say 90% of our clients, when I sit in on discovery calls, one of the questions they ask is like, are you going to actually call out if I say something that's stupid? Like if I want to go here, but you understand that going there is going to ruin my business, will you actually call that out and tell me, don't do that? Or will you be like, yeah, okay, I don't want to ruffle feathers. So I'm like, I will skin you. I will ruffle every feather. I will pull them out before I let you go down a path that actually isn't the right path for you. And so that's like this understanding of your ideal customers. Now, you kind of asked, how do you find it? And this is a very complex
I
answer.
understand.
It is understanding who you serve best, who you connect best, what are those personalities? And realistically, there's kind of two ways to do this. One is through a brand strategy. What we do in our brand strategies, like when we work with our clients, is we take them through an exercise to understand what are the characteristics of their ideal customers. Like, what are they feeling? How are they acting normally? Then we look at what are their emotional states when they are facing the problem that you solve. What would you say your ideal customer deals with? Like, are they frustrated? Are they overwhelmed? And then we look at what are they looking for in a solution. So if you are a company that you're looking for branding help, let's say, you might want a company that isn't a yes man. You might want a company that has expertise, is knowledgeable. So ultimately, what this does, and it helps us shape, like, these are the customers that are going to work well with you because they're the ones that want the personality and the traits and the solutions that you offer. So that's kind of, I call it the right way to do it. That's the way to do it based on your brand, based on your company, the values, what you actually offer. What most companies do is just kind of the trial and error. We take on some clients, we realize, holy hell, this was a horrible client. Like, I wanted to bash my head into the wall working with them. Don't ever take on a client like them again. Like, so there's kind of those two methods. Most companies do the trial and error. They take on whoever they can get. They realize, and I think when you're starting up, especially in the service-based industry, that's how it's done. You don't really know until you bring on some clients and you're like, I couldn't service them. I don't want to work with them. I've taken on clients in the past that it's like, I have a list of red flags now to look for in the discovery call process. Cause it's like, I've worked with a client like that. They seemed good, but after working with them, it's like, man, look, like hindsight's 2020. I look back and I'm like, yep, I saw that in them in the discovery call, but it didn't trigger to me that this was a bad characteristic. Now I've got a list of red flags. That's like, if they do this, if they do that, kill it. Don't try to get them as clients because you and your team are going to hate working with them. So long, complicated answer, but really understanding ideal customers is a long and complicated process because ideal customers, who my ideal customers were in 2020, grossly different than who they are now. It evolves, it changes, it grows. And so a lot of times and I hate to say this, but a lot of times it's like, pick something, try to go after it. If it's not working, if you don't like working with them, adjust it. It is, unless you're going to drop money into a good brand strategy, that's the easiest way to do it.
And that's the kind of like harsh truth I think we wanted on this chat. And essentially what you said initially, the answer is that you might have customers, but they may not be ideal. It's kind of in the name. Even with what you said with your examples, ideal customers for you, perhaps maybe founders who don't mind being called out. And so it's really interesting that one part also that you mentioned that an ICP changes. Maybe, a lot of times people might have their ICP figured out, which in itself may be wrong, but they may not change it for years to come and just, continue with that particular ICP. So that's a really, really interesting sort of like an eye-opening take on that. And thank you for that answer as well. But like, I'm going to just zero down on a final question, which is one of the most important ones, because I know a lot of people are going to benefit from this, especially, with the previous answer of the ICP and how to figure it out. What's the best piece of advice for a business, that you can give starting out, trying to focus on their branding? They're just starting out at the most basic level.
Ooh, that's a good one. Like I am going to go back to understanding your ideal customers. And the reason I say that is most people look at a brand and they say the brand is about me or about the company. The brand is who we are as a company. And really, a brand is a mix of, well, let me say this. The definition of a brand, I ascribe to Marty Neumeier's definition of a brand. It is the gut feeling that someone has about you, your company, or your product, service, whatever it is that you're branding. So it's a gut feeling. It's that natural response that people have when they see your logo, when they encounter you, when they call you up on the phone, when they email you. It is a gut feeling. What most people, especially on LinkedIn and especially these personal branding gurus who don't actually know branding, who are more content strategists that call themselves branders, what most people get wrong is that branding is just being yourself. And that's not actually what branding is. Branding is understanding your ideal customers and creating the persona that attracts them. Now, when I say that, most people think, well, then you're not being authentic. You're not being yourself. And it's like, no, be authentic. You can't fake a brand. You can't pretend to be something that you're actually not. But what you need to do is figure out what aspects of your company, your personality, of how you guys function, of how you do delivery and all that, what aspects of that overlap with the characteristics that are going to attract your ideal customers. And this is where most personal branders on LinkedIn get it wrong, is it's be yourself. That's horrible advice, because being yourself might not actually attract your ideal customers, especially if you are trying to be your whole self. So what I mean by that is, let me give you a quick example. On LinkedIn, you won't see me posting about a lot of the things I'm passionate about, because my goal on LinkedIn is to attract my ideal customers. My ideal customers don't care about my trips to Europe. My ideal customers don't care when I go out hiking, or they don't care about my passion for mentoring college students or anything like that. That's not going to attract them. What attracts them is the personality that you see on LinkedIn. Now that's me, 100%. That's my personality. I'm not faking it, but it's a curated personality to attract a very specific set of people. And so what happens is most companies, when they think about their brand, they think about how great we are, what do we do? And they don't understand that a brand is a gut feeling that exists in the minds of your ideal customers. So a brand is not a logo, it's not a message, it's not an experience. A brand is the gut feeling that your ideal customers have of you. Jeff Bezos said it this way: it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's a reputation. And so a brand is how people view you in the back of their minds. Meaning, if you want to do branding right, you have to understand the minds that you're trying to get inside of. So all of that boils back down to, you need to know your ideal customers, because there are companies that 100% will not work with me. I've had people on my LinkedIn post say, like, I would never work with such an a-hole like you. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not an a-hole. Like, talk to me and you'll actually see I'm not. They got offended by something I posted, and they're like, I'll never work with you. And my response was, that's okay. You're not my ideal customer. Well, that just pissed them off even more, because they're like, well, you should be trying to. And I'm like, no, I am trying to attract a very specific set of people. Now, if you follow me and you engage with my content and you grow from it, awesome. 100%. I'm great with that. I love that you grow from my content. But if you're not my ideal customer and you say, I'm not following your content anymore, I don't care. Like, I didn't create my content for you. I created it for a very specific set of people. That's how branding works. It's not just, here's who I am. It's, I am trying to attract a certain set of people and build a gut feeling in the back of their minds. And so a brand should, like, take into account who it is you're trying to reach. If not, if it's just about, here's our values, here's what we want, here's how we talk, here's blah, 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 and we'll just magically attract people that want to work with us, that's not how you do branding. It is based on this intersect. Think of it as a Venn diagram. Here's our business, here's our ideal customers. What's that interlap? That's where your brand is found. So understanding your ideal customers is again, it's the ultimate business hack. It's the ultimate branding hack. It's the ultimate marketing and sales hack. Really, I say this a lot too. It's the ultimate life hack. That's consistency. Sorry. Understanding your ideal customers is the ultimate business hack. If you want to grow your business, understand them more. Get on the phone, talk to them, ask them why they choose you. I see this a lot because we position companies, meaning we try to figure out what is their differentiation, how they're going to go to market, all that. What happens is most companies say, this is why companies hire us. And when in our process, we interview their ideal customers, we actually sit down with them, talk to them, dig down deep into what they want. And what we find 9 times out of 10, what our clients say is their differentiation is not actually why their ideal customers bought from them. So they're trying to brand themselves and position themselves as this is why you should work with us. And their ideal clients are like, I could get 2 craps about that. It's really this. And it's maybe if we change your brand and positioning to align with what these people actually buy from you, you'll get more of these people buying from you. Pretty logical. But I've said this before, even on this podcast, if you don't know your ideal customers, you're not going to do this right. And so the foundation of a great brand is understanding those ideal customers. That should come numero uno. When we do a brand positioning strategy for our clients, we start every project with research into their competitors. So we understand the market, we understand how they're coming in and their ideal clients. Before we talk messaging, before we talk differentiation, before we talk who are your values and all that, we talk who are the people that we need to go after, because everything stems from them.
So it's essentially all ICP. And again, once again, some harshness there that we did, have to hear, I think.
Let me add this one thing to maybe clarify this and bring this home for people. Most companies that I talk to, when we talk ICP, they'll start running marketing campaigns or they do content. It's I don't know what platforms to be on. I don't know, I'm working with a Google Ads company and I don't know what, they're asking me, who should we be targeting? What keywords? I don't know. If at any point in marketing or selling your product or service, you say, I don't know, the answer is understanding your ideal customers. So I've had clients come to us and they're like, well, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I want to do everything. And it's we do some research and we realize their ideal customers only use LinkedIn. So why would we spend time and money and energy trying to do something on Facebook when your ideal, or I have an Instagram account and I use it for personal stuff. It's here's trips I've been on, hiking I've done. I'm looking at home improvement stuff and fitness stuff and all that. That's what's in my feed. If you are a company trying to get my business, you want Shift to be one of your clients, you've got a SaaS platform or whatever, Instagram is not the channel to grab my attention because I'm not there for your type of content. Well, if you don't know that about your ideal customers, you might hire an agency to get you big on Instagram, only 6 months later to find out it's not going to generate revenue for you because you didn't actually do research on your ideal customers to understand where do they go. We have one client, this still baffles me. I understand the theory behind it, still baffles me. We have one client who the majority of their leads come through magazine advertising, print magazine advertising, because in that industry, all the decision makers, they don't go to LinkedIn, they don't go to Facebook, they are on blogs. Where they're at, there are like 2 or 3 industry magazines that is on the desk of every decision maker. They read it. Our clients have said that like decision makers have literally tore out the page with their ad on it and put it up on the bill on their like bulletin board so they remember to call. Like that's how ingrained this is into that industry. Now, if we didn't know that about their ideal customers, the typical marketing stack is, well, let's run some ads, let's run some Google stuff, let's do that. If you don't understand where your ideal customers go to get educated on what you do and how to solve their problems, you might be spending money on a platform that a brand strategy would have told you, don't waste your time and your money on that platform. They don't care. This is where they get their information. Double down on that. You'll see results faster. This is what I mean about shaping everything around your ideal customers. Every decision you want to make, the answer is in their minds. If you can dig it out of their minds, you will, like, for that company, we do very little stuff on LinkedIn for them because it doesn't necessarily generate the revenue that they want. The magazine ads bring in money. No marketer, no typical marketer would say, let's run some magazine ads as the very first touch point. But for them, Absolutely. It was a no-brainer. Like, this is where you invest the money and we can do social media later. That's the goal. That's the like benefit of knowing your ideal customers. Those kind of decisions you will easily be able to make because you know where they go. So even for us, for Shift, LinkedIn is where a lot of our ideal customers go to find solutions. It's LinkedIn and it's Google. That's where they go first because most of them don't understand what a brand strategy is. So they're looking for logos, they're looking for, brand elements. And so we show up where they look. They look on LinkedIn and they look on Google. Show up where they're at. So I don't waste time on Facebook for the company. There's no point. They don't go to Facebook to find these solutions, our ideal customers. Now, I'm not saying no one goes on LinkedIn to look for branding or whatnot. I've landed a few logo projects by just randomly posting, hey, here's the logo that Shift designed for someone. So a company came to me like, oh yeah, we want a logo. They didn't want strategy. They didn't want their research. And it's like, you're not an ideal customer. So I'm not going to post that on Facebook. So all of this is to say, understand your ideal customers. Every marketing question you have will be answered if you build that brand strategy to really deeply understand your ideal customers.
That brings a lot of clarity, especially with the examples that you mentioned of the print magazine. Like I would have thought as well, but it all makes sense, with the examples that you mentioned. And even though slightly over time, I almost don't want this session to end because it's so great. I think we'll have to do another one, Jason, if I may be honest, just for the ICB and understanding and listening to these amazing examples. But that's all we have for this chat. It's been lovely chatting to you, and thank you so much for giving us your time and all the amazing pointers. And I genuinely want another one of these coming up. So you might find me on LinkedIn inbox again, asking you to answer another one of these.
I am. Let's do it.
Thanks so much, Jason. And if you haven't already given Jason a follow, Sassy Jason, you need to give him a follow on LinkedIn. All the links are going to be in the description. He shares some amazing content. In addition to all the great podcasts and the Shoot Your Shift and all the other interviews Jason has done, there's some really, really cool resources on the website as well. Again, everything can be found on the website. And this is all we have for the session. And thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much.